Evening, everyone. So, after a long time, I'm again sharing a video with you. It's about shock, the treatment of shock. Hope you're all well and healthy. Now, I'm going to discuss with you shock. So, what is shock? Basically, shock is reduced tissue perfusion. When there is loss of blood is there from the body and there is inadequate blood flow and oxygen delivery is less and the tissue demands are not met because there is reduced tissue perfusion in the body that is leading to shock. And basically, the main sign and symptom is there is hypotension in shock. Symptoms will be general and specific symptoms. General will be, there will be anxiety or nervousness, dizziness and weakness, faintness, nausea, vomiting, thirst, confusion, decreased urine output. Specific symptoms will be, there will be history of trauma, any trauma history, there will be a lot of blood loss and any illness like any nausea, vomiting, diarrhea is there. So any illness or trauma which leads to blood loss like cancer, they can lead to shock, chest pain, and rigors and fevers. They can all lead to shock. Signs will be the patient's skin will be yellowish, cold and clammy. They will be sweating, diaphoresis, cyanosis, bluish discoloration of the skin, tachycardia, increase in heart rate, tachypnea, breathlessness, increase in respiration, respiratory rate. Patient will be confused and patient will be agitated, unconscious. The patient will be unconscious and hypotensive means reduced blood pressure in the body will be there. The patient can become unconscious. So these are the various signs and symptoms of the shock. How the patient with shock will represent. They will be pale, cold, clammy skin, sweating, cyanosis, tachycardia, tachypnea, confused, agitated, unconscious, hypotensive. Circulatory hemostasis. What is the tissue perfusion? It is driven by blood pressure. Blood pressure is given by the formula cardiac output into peripheral vascular resistance. And cardiac output is equal to stroke volume into heart rate. So we can say that blood pressure is equal to stroke volume into heart rate, which is cardiac output, and peripheral resistance, peripheral vascular resistance. Now, what makes the blood volume? It is made up of plasma, RBCs, WBCs, platelets. Now, what alters the human blood volume? What will be the alteration in the blood volume will be caused by hemorrhage? Any bleeding has occurred because of intake of any anticoagulant or any injury has occurred, some accident has occurred, some trauma has occurred, or intake of some drugs, and there is plasma loss, there will be reduce in the blood volume. Redistribution of the extracellular volume. There can be redistribution of the extracellular volume. Heart rate increases as a compensatory response to shock. The patient will be in reduced tissue perfusion will be there. There will be hypotension, means reduced blood pressure, reduced diastolic blood pressure, which will lead to increase in the heart rate. And also there can be increase in the high output failure. Really, there can be high output failure also. Heart rate too fast to allow adequate refilling of the heart between beats. Heart rate increases as the compensatory response to shock when there is decreased tissue perfusion and decrease in the blood volume. The peripheral vascular resistance, it is regulated by arteriolar tone, and dilatation opens arteriovenous beds and increase volume of circulatory system. Means dilatation will be there, arterial tone will, arterioles and venules will be dilated, and there will be increase in volume of the circulatory system. What alters the, means what causes the vasodilatation of the peripheral vascular resistance, which decreases the peripheral vascular resistance, is there will be circulatory cytokines and inflammatory mediators which can lead to vasodilatation. Endotoxins can lead to vasodilatation, and drugs like nitrates can lead to vasodilatation, leading to reduced peripheral vascular resistance. The classification is due to decrease in the blood volume, because of loss of the blood, reduced blood volume, there will be hypovolemic shock, which can occur due to hemorrhage, any burns when there is external fluid loss, any vomiting or diarrhea, any diabetic shock, in diabetes insipidus, and in excessive use of diuretics. When there is excessive use of diuretics, there is loss of sodium and water from the body. So there can be reduced blood volume in the body, any fracture, any hemothorax or ascites. When there's fluid accumulation in the abdomen or in the lungs, these can lead to reduced blood volume. Cardiogenic means when there is decreased cardiac output. Because of the decreased cardiac output, reduced tissue perfusion and reduced cardiac output, there will be pump failure either due to myocardial infarction or cardiomyopathy. Any arrhythmias have occurred which has lead to reduced cardiac output, and any valvular dysfunction like arteriovenous valves, they get disrupted, like atrial flutter, atrial fibrillation. They can all lead to reduced cardiac output. Distributive shock is the shock which can be of again three types, and it can be decreased peripheral vascular resistance because of vasodilatory shock. It is basically vasodilatory shock. Septicemia, septic shock, which is due to bacteremia. Anaphylactic shock because of type 1 hypersensitivity reaction because of the histamine and other inflammatory mediators. There is vasodilatation and bronchoconstriction. Neurogenic shock when there is any spinal cord injury, or when there is anesthesia given, and there is a locking of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves, they get blocked. So that can lead to neurogenic shock. Obstructive is because of the obstruction. It can be due to massive pulmonary embolism. Any embolus has formed in the pulmonary veins and arterioles. Tension, hemothorax, when air has filled the lungs and there is a tension, pressure, pneumothorax has developed. Cardiac tamponade, constrictive pericarditis, when there is inflammation in the pericardium and there's inflammation of the fluid, there is constriction has occurred. Aortic stenosis, stenosis of the aortic valves has occurred, that can lead to obstructive shock. Shock can be due to drug overdose like vasodilators like nitrates, nitrate, sodium nitroprusside, and nitroglycerine and other drugs, and beta blockers like propranolol, metoprolol, carvedilol, they can lead to vasodilation and decrease in heart rate and lead to shock. Now this is how the development of the basic mechanism of the action of the shock in the various kinds of shock. When there is hemorrhage, means there is reduced blood flow in the hypovolemic shock, that can lead to reduced pulmonary preload. Preload is reduced diastolic filling, that is reduced diastolic blood pressure, which will lead to reduced cardiac output, increased systemic vascular resistance. Systemic vascular resistance will be increased and mean arterial pressure will be reduced. And there will be shock, and ultimately there will be multiple organ dysfunction syndrome. In myocardial infarction, which is due to cardiogenic shock, which is due to reduced cardiac output, there will be reduced systolic and diastolic function, and there will be reduced systolic and diastolic blood pressure, and there will be shock. In extracardiac obstructive, there can be reduced diastolic filling, like in tension pneumothorax or pericardial tamponade, reduced diastolic function is there. And in increased ventricular afterload, like massive pulmonary embolus has occurred, that will lead to reduced systolic function, that will lead to reduced cardiac output, and mean arterial pressure is reduced, and shock can occur, and the systemic vascular resistance is increased. And there's also distributive is due to decreased preload. Distributive is when there is vasodilatation, and there is reduced diastolic blood pressure, diastolic filling will be reduced, and which will lead to maldistribution of flow leading to shock, leading to increase in cardiac output and septic shock. Now, general principles of shock management. What is the general principles of shock management? The overall goal of shock management is to improve the oxygen delivery utilization in order to prevent cellular and organ injury. Means the main goal is that we have to improve the oxygen delivery and we have to prevent the cellular and organ injury. Effective therapy requires treatment of the underlying etiology. Firstly, we have to reduce the underlying etiology, whether it is hypovolemic or it is cardiogenic or it is neurogenic or it is distributive or it is obstructive, and then we have to reduce that underlying etiology. Then we have to maintain the adequate perfusion, we have to monitor the blood pressure, cardiac output, heart rate, and we have to give the supportive care like oxygen inhalation, blood transfusion fluids should be given, plasma expanders should be given, and the other drugs, inotropic drugs should be given. Intervention to restore perfusion center on achieving an adequate BP. BP should be achieved, normal BP should be achieved, cardiac output should be increased, oxygen content of the blood should be increased, and oxygen demand should also be reduced. Treatment is we have to recognize the problem, whether it is because of hypovolemia or because of the cardiogenic decreased cardiac output or because of vasodilatory like the septic shock, anaphylactic shock, or neurogenic shock, or any distributive or any obstructive shock is there. Then we have to maintain the airway breathing circulation, which was earlier. Now it is capped. There is circulation, airway potential is maintained, and then blood pressure is breathing is maintained. Now next is airway breathing circulation. We can begin CPR if necessary. Then we have to give oxygen inhalation. We have to lay the person down and we have to elevate the feet. Feet should be elevated unless head, neck, hip or leg is injured. And turn patient to his side if vomiting or bleeding from the mouth. And keep patient warm, treat obvious injuries, administer volume expansion, usually normal saline. We have to administer volume expansions, means fluid replacement should be given like normal saline or ringer lactate. We have to keep the patient warm, turn the patient to his side, elevate the feet of the patient. We have to lay the patient down. The restoration of the circulation is by the crystalloids like IV fluids like 0.9% normal saline is the fluid of choice, 2 to 3 liters over 15 to 30 minutes. Ringer's lactate may also be used, which is the crystalloid of choice to maintain the tissue perfusion of the patient in shock, to maintain the blood volume. Colloids like albumin and whole blood human plasma can be given. These are the used volume expanders but carries risk of transmission, and albumin is the costly. So high molecular weight synthetic chlorides can be used. They retain fluid in the vascular compartment by exerting osmotic pressure comparable to plasma, remain in circulation and are cheap. The drugs used in the shock management are inotropes, vasopressins, and steroids. And inotropes are the dopamine, basically the main drug of choice in the neurogenic, in the cardiogenic shock, or in the hypovolemic shock is the norepinephrine, which is a drug of choice, which acts on the alpha-1, alpha-2, and beta-1 receptors, which basically causes vasoconstriction and so increase in the blood pressure and increase in the heart rate and cardiac output by acting on the beta-1 receptors. So norepinephrine is the main profound vasoconstriction of inotrope. And if we have to reduce the, other drugs like epinephrine, they also cause the vasodilatation, as thus they cause the reflex tachycardia. They act on alpha-1 receptors basically, and they are responsible for vasoconstriction. Dopamine, it acts on the D1, beta-1 and alpha-1 receptors according to dose. use like 0 to 10 microgram per kg per minute is the dose. 1 to 3 is dopaminergic. 2 to 5 and 5 to 10, 2 to 5 is the beta 1 receptor agonistic dose, and alpha 1 receptor agonistic dose is the 5 to 10 microgram per kg um, per minute. Dobutamine, it acts on the alpha 1, alpha 2, and beta 1 receptors again, but more on the beta 1 receptors, which is inotropic drug. And dopamine, as it acts on the D1 receptors, it causes vasodilation of the kidney blood vessels. So there will be diuresis, natriuresis, leading to increased renal blood perfusion, vasodilation will be there. Beta 1, it will lead to increase in the cardiac output, so it will be reduced, leading to decrease in the cardiogenic shock. And alpha 1 vasoconstriction, leading to decrease in the peripheral vascular resistance. And so increase in the peripheral vascular resistance, so there will be increase in the BP by the alpha 1 action. Dobutamine acts on beta 1 receptors, which will lead to inotropic action. This is again which I have already discussed with you at the doses and the dopamine action. Norepinephrine acts on the alpha 1, alpha 2, and beta 1 receptors. It's the main drug of choice, and it increases branchionic perfusion, and it also has the increasing heart rate effect. Epinephrine, it also increases heart rate, and it also increases blood pressure and increases the mean arterial blood pressure and increases the cardiac output and stroke volume. Phenylephrine, it has no effect on cardiac output because it acts on alpha 1 and alpha 2 receptors, no beta 1 action. So it will reduce the heart rate and increase the mean arterial pressure. Vasopressin is the vasoconstrictor. It increases the blood pressure, and mean arterial blood pressure is increased. Urine output is increased. Steroids, these are the glucocorticoid function. They maintain the hemostasis, increase the BP, modulate inflammatory response, normalize the vascular reactivity. They normalize the vascular reactivity. Dosage, hydrocortisone 200 milligram IV. Drug of choice is acute renal insufficiency. And this is the steroids. These are hydrocortisone 200 milligram IV is used, and it is given in the acute adrenal insufficiency. It modulates the inflammatory response, normalizes the vascular activity, increase the BP. Hypovolemic shock, it occurs when the intravascular volume is depleted relative to the vascular capacity. Mild is when there is cold extremities, decreased CRT, and diaphoresis, vomiting, and sweating, and anxiety is there. Moderate, there will be 20 to 40%, and that will be tachycardia, tachypnea, oliguria, partial hypotension. Severe will be hypotension and mental status deterioration. Management of hypovolemic shock is basically we have to give the IV fluids for the reduced tissue perfusions, and then we can give the oxygen inhalation. Then we can give the blood transfusion also if there is hemorrhage. Then we can give dopamine, which is at the dose of the 2 to 3 microgram per kg, which will act on the beta 1 receptors, and it will lead to increase in heart rate, contractility, and GFR because it acts on the D1 receptor also at this dose. So it will causes increased renal blood fusion, increases the glomerular filtration rate. And vasopressors like vasopressin can also be given, and norepinephrine is the treatment of choice. Was the treatment of choice, but now it is not used because catecholamine level is high and fluid loss is accompanied by reflex vasoconstriction. Phenoxybenzamine can be used. It is the alpha blocker, alpha 1 and alpha 2 blocker. So it will contract the vasoconstriction. It will shift blood from pulmonary to systemic circulation and extravascular to vascular compartment and improve the cardiac output. Means it will shift the blood from pulmonary to systemic and extravascular to vascular, increasing the tissue perfusion and blood volume, and it will improve the cardiac output. Cardiogenic shock, we have to have this circulatory pump failure, so we can give the sustained hypotension, systolic blood pressure less than 90 millimeter of mercury for at least 30 minutes. We can give fluid replacement, and then we can give dobutamine, which is the drug given in the dose of 2.5 milligram per kg per minute infusion. It will increase, it will act on the beta-1 receptors, and it will increase contractility, decrease the afterload, and also the reflex reduction in sympathetic tone. Dopamine, it will act on beta-1 and D1 receptors, so it will reduce the cardiac output and reduce the heart rate. So it can be increase the cardiac output and increase the heart rate, and it will also cause increase GFR, and norepinephrine acting on the alpha-1, alpha-2 and beta-1 receptors can be given with refractory hypotension. In patients with refractory hypotension, we can give norepinephrine also. Neurogenic shock is the shock of the spinal cord injury, which involves the neurogenic because of the nerve impulses, because of the blockage of the systemic and sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. Decreased tissue perfusion as a result of loss of vasomotor tone to peripheral arterial beds. Secondary to spinal cord injury from vertebral hypotension with bradycardia, warm extremities, motor and sensory deficit. Restoration of the intravascular volume by crystalloids. We can give vasoconstrictors like norepinephrine and phenylephrine as the treatment of choice. In this, there is the reduced tissue perfusion because there is loss of vasomotor tone to the peripheral arterial beds, and there will be reduced intravascular volume, and intravascular volume will be restored by crystalloids. Septic shock is when there is bacteremia because of the infection. It can occur hemodynamic and respiratory support is blood volume should be maintained high, and oxygen inhalation should be given. Fluid resuscitation should be done because there will be a capillary leak. Releases fluid to the extracellular space, so we have to give the fluid therapy should be given. Vasopressin, vasoconstrictor, which is the vasoconstrictor V1 receptors acting on V1 receptors and reduces the nitric oxide synthesis. So it can be given. Corticosteroids can suppress the nitric oxide and prostaglandins. So they can be given. Adrenaline, which is the alpha-1 and alpha-2 and beta-1 and beta-2 adrenergic receptor agonist. Dopamine, which acts on the D1 and beta-1 and alpha-1 receptors, and dobutamine can be used. And antimicrobials are very effective because they will treat the infection, bacteremia in the septic shock. Anaphylactic shock is caused by the type 1 type of hypersensitivity reaction to allergen like nuts, bee, wasp stings, drugs. Common features will be there will be angioedema, bronchoconstriction, vasodilatation, hypotension, and urticarial rash. This is the how the patient with anaphylactic shock presents. There will be angioedema seen on the face, and there will be epiglottitis, and treatment will be airway should be maintained, oxygen inhalation, IV access should be given by the crystalloids like normal saline and Ringer's lactate. Alkaloids can be given, IV fluids can be given, plasma therapy can be given. Adrenaline is given in the dose of 0.5 ml in 1 in 1000. IM should be given or can be given subcutaneously if IM injection is not responding. We can give subcutaneous injection. Bronchodilators to reduce the bronchoconstriction. Steroids can be given, and the antihistaminics to reduce the bronchoconstriction and the type 1 type of the hypersensitivity reaction. We can give the antihistaminics. Obstructive shock. This is blood flow is stopped as a result of cardiac or pericardiac tamponade. the buildup of fluid in the pericardium that compresses the heart and stops it from beating properly, or pulmonary embolism, or blood clot in the pulmonary artery, blocking the flow of blood to the lungs. Means pulmonary embolism is there or cardiac tamponade is there, which compresses the heart and stops it from beating properly. Management is we have to remove the obstruction by surgery, or we can give clot dissolving medication like heparin, which is the anticoagulant, which can be given 3,000 to 5,000 units IV to remove the clot in the pulmonary artery. That's all for the treatment of shock. Thank you. I hope you understood. Kindly subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Stay safe. Be healthy.